Last year, car enthusiasts around the world were talking about one car. A car that delivers an amazingly raw driving sensation, but also true precision performance. It's of course a proper rear-wheel drive car, and amazingly costs just around 25,000 bucks. Not since the launch of the original Miata have performance and price gone together so well. I am of course talking about this car, the Subaru BRZ.
But the competition is catching up, and the BRZ has a new rival, delivering a totally unique driving experience in a very different package. I'm talking about Ford's latest pocket rocket, the Fiesta ST.
With similar power to weight ratios, let's run down the bench racer stats and see if one of these two cars has an obvious advantage. With slightly more power, the BRZ is exactly at 200 horsepower, while torque is at a bit of a disadvantage at 151 foot-pounds. It uses a 6-speed manual transmission, although a 6-speed automatic is available, and puts all that power to the proper wheels, that is, the rear ones. It's rated at 22 miles per gallon in the city and 30 on the highway, and weighs in at 2,762 pounds. For 2014, the BRZ now gets a slight price increase of $100 and now costs $26,390, including destination.
And this angry little jelly bean, known as the Fiesta ST, makes 197 horsepower and 202 pound-feet of torque. Its turbocharged 1.6-liter engine puts power to the front wheels via a 6-speed manual transmission. Significantly better than the BRZ, the Fiesta ST gets 26 miles per gallon in the city and 35 miles per gallon on the highway. It's also 20 pounds lighter at 2,742 pounds. With a base price of $22,195 including delivery, our car has almost $3,500 in options, including those sexy Recaro seats, a sunroof, and a Navi system.
Unlike the Fiesta ST, the BRZ isn't some hopped-up econo box with a factory tuning package put on it. It looks this way and it comes this way straight from the factory. It is a real sports car. It's low, it's long, it has a beautiful hood to it, it's really short in the rear, it's a great coupe profile, it's low to the ground, and it's a proper sports car with that rear-wheel drive. Plus, you've got these 17-inch wheels and some semi-high-performance tires.
The ST has a unique body kit, including that more aggressive front fascia with a duct straight to the front mount intercooler, as well as these 17-inch wheels which mimic the Focus STs, and a very aggressive summer tire rated at 140. Ours came in this unique shade of molten orange, which I think clashes quite nicely with the red calipers. It's also got a big spoiler out back and is lowered over ½ an inch to give it that nice aggressive stance.
A lot of bad things have been said about the interior of the BRZ, and a lot of them are true. I mean, it has a crappy infotainment system, and the interior materials are pretty chintzy, but when it comes to actual performance driving, everything is perfect. I mean, the steering wheel is small and it's nice and low right in front of you, and you sit really low in the car so you feel connected to it. And then on top of all that, you've got this amazing shifter that just falls to hand, whereas in the Fiesta ST, I mean, it's almost on the ground and you feel like you're seated way up high. This is just a pure machine.
I know Colm's probably been ragging on the Fiesta for having a high seating position, something that's fairly typical in a subcompact like this, but these Recaros do go a long way to holding you in here when you're pounding it out on the racetrack. And the steering wheel is also unique to the ST. It's a nice leather wrap unit, and it's also a telescopic unit, so I'm able to get it nice and close to me, just the way I like it in a race car.
One of the things you have to love about the BRZ is its 4-cylinder boxer engine. There's no turbos on here, and you just have to love the progressive and linear way the power is delivered. You'd always know what to expect. You give it more throttle and it responds the exact way you planned. If there's a downside to that, it never feels like it's crazy fast and you never get this huge burst of power. The true joy of the BRZ is that it is rear-wheel drive, and it just drives so miraculously well. It's so nicely balanced, it's so low down to the ground, and it just delivers a feel that you pretty much can't get anywhere else in the industry at any cost. You know, it's easy to drive a front-wheel drive car fast, but to master a rear-wheel drive machine takes a lot more talent. But the BRZ makes driving rear-wheel drive easy, and if it doesn't make you fast, it at least makes you look really good doing what you're doing.
The first thing you notice in the ST, of course, is the power. You just don't expect a subcompact like this to have this much get up and go. It really goes like a stabbed rat in a straight line thanks to that turbocharged 1.6 liter engine. And although it's a little bit peaky as you expect from a turbo car, it does fall off a little bit in the top end, but overall, man, this thing just hauls ass. I also really like the slick shifting 6-speed. The gear lever is a little bit low for my taste, but it's really a nice gearbox. It just finds the gear naturally. You're never questioning it, and it just bangs into the right spot right away. The ultra stiff suspension does make it a little bit jarring. You do feel every bump and crease on the road, but out here on the racetrack, it just feels totally at home. There's no body roll to speak of, and thanks to that fancy torque vectoring system, it really does rotate well in the corners. The steering in the ST is really quick. It's got a much faster rack than in a base model Fiesta, and unlike in the Focus ST, they haven't dumbed it down any, so you do actually get quite a bit of torque steer when you get on the power. I think Ford's actually learned a few lessons from the Focus ST because we had quite a bit of brake fade in that car. But here in the Fiesta, we've had zero brake fade and brake performance has just been fantastic.
So Dave, which one was faster, the front-wheel drive hot hatch or the true rear-wheel drive sports car?
Well, keep in mind that it was a little bit wet out here today, so that did play a role, but the BRZ was actually the fastest of the two, but only by 0.3 of a second.
Wow, I'll admit I'm actually a little bit surprised by that because as much as I love driving the BRZ, the first time I got in the Fiesta ST and drove down the front straight here, you just feel that surge of torque, and I was honestly thinking for a while that it's faster.
It does feel faster, especially on the street. When that torque hits, it really pushes you back in the seat. But out here on the racetrack, the BRZ really did shine. That top end power is just so usable. Combine that with rear wheel drive and that amazing balance, and it's just really hard to beat.
I'm sure a year ago, neither of us would have expected you'd be able to get such a high level of performance and driving fun out of a car that costs even less than the BRZ.
I agree, and they really have packed a lot of content into the Fiesta. The drawbacks, of course, being that it's front-wheel drive, and so they've had to make the suspension really stiff to make it corner.
You do, however, get some of those great advantages, like it has real functioning rear doors and a hatchback to put lots of stuff in.
And I really do love the hoonable character of this car. It just urges you to drive it hard.
Yeah, it is a ton of fun to get behind the wheel of, and I do love that part of it. I also love the way the car looks, even though it doesn't look like a real sports car.
But as we've proven here today, it really can hang with one.